Hi and welcome back to the channel. There's only 3 weeks between Phillip Island and the next race, which is at Calder Park. Yeah, that's right. Now, it rained in the first week and I've been sick the second week, so that leaves me with 1 week to do, luckily, the 2 things I want to do with the car before Calder. So I shall go through those and we will see what we can get done. Hopefully we'll get everything done before the race meeting. So the first thing that I wanted to do was the ignition, sorry, not the ignition, the light on the dashboard. So I've pulled everything out, as you can see, because that's the only way to get to the indicator light, which is now working. So I managed to get that done in the last week. So that's one thing sort of done, but I still have to put everything back together again. The second thing I wanted to do was to put in a surge tank. So this is the original. Oh, well, I don't think it's original because it was originally a 2-litre car. It's been converted to 2.5 PI. So I'm pretty sure all of this stuff is on the wrong side. But anyway, this is the main fuel hose. It's been uprated to 1/2 inch. Goes through to this fuel filter here, which then goes through to the pump. That goes round to the pressure regulator. And then you've got that pressure filter which feeds to the front, and also this hose here which is the pressure return to the fuel tank. The yellow wire there is the trigger wire from the ignition, and this black wire is the power feed. So 2 things wrong with that. A, it shouldn't be black, and B, it's not fused. It runs, both of them run to this here, which is the relay. So the whole idea will be I'm fitting a surge tank, a second fuel pump, and so a second relay and fuses to both of the pumps. So this is the surge tank I'm going to be fitting. It's from a previous project, but it was deemed to be too big. It's 2.5 litre, and it's got, obviously you can see the 4 outlets. So the bottom one will be fuel out, the top one will be vent back to the tank, and then one of the 2 side ones, preferably the top one, will be fuel in. So if I just open the boot. So ideally the tank wants to sit in here somewhere, and then it will feed round to the pump. This incoming feed will go up to the top, and this will vent off. I think I've got a tube here which I should be able to vent to. It looks like an overflow tube, but if you look underneath the tank, it's, where is it? It's in there somewhere. Oh yes, it's that one there. So it goes into the side of the tank, so that'll be quite a handy place to put it. So here are all the parts. I've obviously got the surge tank. This is the low pressure fuel pump that I'm going to be using. I've got various bits of fuel lines, and I've got the hardware for the tank. Now I've got AN fittings down here which I can't use, or I won't be using for the moment. These fittings, I've only got the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch fitting, and the problem I have there is that the fitting on the fuel pump is 3/8, and the fuel pipe feeding to it is 1/2 inch. So I've got an adapter which will take that down, so that sorts that out. The other problem I have is there's no blanking plug, and there's also no vent for a not 3/8, it's going to be a 5/16 hose. So I've managed to get hold of a blanking plug, lovely little black anodized one there, and I've also got hold of a black anodized one to go in the top here, and that will be the non-pressurized. Well, if it is pressurized, it's only pressurized to about 3 to 5 psi, whereas the pressurized return from the normal fuel pump would be anything over 120, I think. I've got various bits of fittings just to try and help things go together, some wiring. I've got a couple of inline fuses, fuse holders, and an extra relay there. So yes, it's going to go up and down in size a bit, but this is sort of a trial fit to make sure it all works. And once I've got everything sorted out and I know what position I want everything in, then I will replace the lines with probably stainless steel braided lines and AN fittings. Okay, let's try and put it all together. Okay, so we've got the reducer in place from 1/2 inch down to 3/8, and I've got the fuel pump in place, the low pressure for filling the surge tank. The red wire is obviously the power wire. I'll do the wiring at the end. The negative, the earth, is attached to this on the inside, just on the inside of the frame rail there. All I need to do is work out how I'm going to place everything in here with the surge tank. I've taken the fuel pump wires off and marked them yellow and red to match the fuel pump, so that's the wiring out of the way, and we'll work out the position of the surge tank. So we're starting to get somewhere now. Everything's in place and plumbed in, apart from obviously this tube to go into the top there. But I've got the auxiliary pump that runs into the top of the surge tank. Then from the bottom of the surge tank, I've got running round to the fuel pump, the high pressure, and then the original tubing takes over from there. So all I have to do now is put a couple of brackets on the side of here to hold this in place, and then do the wiring, and then hopefully it should all work and be good. So here's the wiring I've ended up with. 2 fuses, 2 relays. The red wire there is the power from the battery, which goes to power the relays and on to the fuel pumps. The yellow wire is the switch wire from the ignition, which controls the relays. On this side I have the earth for the relay and the red wire to power the auxiliary pump or the low pressure pump. And on this side we have this wire here, which feeds the original high pressure pump with its earth, and that's the earth for the relay on that side. And that all fits onto the chassis underneath. So I just have to fit the panel in place here. The red wire is the power feed from the battery, and the yellow wire there is the switched from the ignition. The panel's in place now, so all I need to do is solder up the main power connection from there, and the switched power connection from the ignition switch there, and then it'll be all ready for a test run. So I now have everything mechanically in place. So I've got the primary fuel pump connected. That comes up to the top of the swill pot, the bottom of the swill pot round to the high pressure fuel pump, which then goes through the high pressure fuel filter and up to the the distributor block, and you've got the overflow or relief that goes back up to the tank. Now I was quite impressed to see that I did this yesterday, and you can see just the shine in the top there. The the surge tank has gravity bled itself, so it's now in line with, I'd say, about a third of the way down of the up of the tank. So that's one less job to do. It means that everything should fire up fairly quickly once I finish all the wiring off. We're at Calder Park, Sunday morning. Unfortunately, I've had a horrendous fuel leak when I started the car to put it on the trailer. It's sort of flooding out all over the place. In here is okay, so everything I've done is not too bad. The problem seems to be this piece of tubing and this piece of tubing, which is broken off, and that's the high pressure return, I think, from the injectors. So anyway, the actual part of the car is underneath here. It's that tube running along there and runs down, I don't know if you can see it, and it runs to this tube here. So I'm in the middle of putting a piece of hose on to connect the two together, and we'll see how that works. That's the complete installation finished now. I've had a couple of problems along the way, but it's all in there. Fuses, relays. The Bosch pump is drawing higher current than I expected, so I had to put a 10 amp fuse in instead of a 5 amp fuse, but that seems to be working fine now. Everything's soldered, everything's all working fine. In fact, if I just come up to the front and so the car starts up nicely. Only I don't seem to have a rev counter, which is wonderful, so I'll have to fix that later. Pumps are a little bit noisy, but I think I can live with that. Right, all done. Roll on Sunday. So I've just completed my my third run, and everything went perfectly. The car ran very well, overtook a few people, no signs of leaks. Everything's running perfectly. When I got the petrol pipe fixed under the car, I got the car scrutineered, and I had no brake lights. So luckily that was just a wire that dropped off the switch, and I managed to get back out for the second session. Car ran fairly badly, but it always does the first time out, and that was the third session, and it ran very, very well. So I've got one more session to go, and we'll see how we go from there.
that's it for Calder. I was 1.5 seconds quicker than my previous best time, which was in a Triumph Spitfire, but that was in 2012. So a little bit of improvement, but not a lot. But I don't know whether we're going to be going back to Calder. It was sort of a blast from the past event rather than a possible future event, but we'll see what happens. They may bring it back for next year. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, the next event is the Victorian Super Sprint in 4 weeks' time. It's a 2-day event, and we'll see how the car goes there. This time, my takeaways from the Calder event are that everything really worked well. The surge tank worked perfectly. I was having my low fuel light flashing quite frequently, but the car never cut out at all. So yeah, everything's working very well there. I'm very pleased with it. So yeah, basically in between now and the next event, I'm going to concentrate on getting the car roadworthy so I can actually drive it to Sandown and on a few car club events. But apart from that, I'll just leave it pretty much exactly the way it is, and we'll worry about what crops up after that. And in the off season after the next event, we'll get round to doing a few of the bigger jobs, like flushing out the radiator and changing the master cylinder and slave cylinder on the clutch. We'll get round to those a bit later. So anyway, thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next one.